Hi guys, I'm Bree.
And I'm Allie. This is Offscript.
If you think about it, books are potential scripts for movies.
When this adaptation happens, typically it's disappointing because they went off script.
In this series, we will be talking about how off script they went. Perfect.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's. Hello
Hi
and welcome
to Offscript,
a podcast.
where we compare books to their movies. And we're at the end.
Of season 3, which probably means we're at the end of season 4.
I think so. I think season 4's last episode came out Monday.
Came off. It did came off Monday.
It did. That was the last one. Next week are both our recaps.
Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you're really ready for season 5, where everything will, knock on wood, be back to normal.
Or they're really ready for a break. They're like, oh my gosh.
Give us a 3-month break.
too many episodes.
What is going on?
These girls talk too much.
I actually think season 3 we did pretty good.
I know, they were all about under an hour
there
and a
were
half.
only a few that were pretty
Over that.
long. And that's just because they were way different.
Yeah.
Even I thought The Shining was going to be our worst one, and that one was really small.
I know. Look at us go.
Mm-hmm.
We're figuring it out. That's why.
We're
not
really
dragging on. I realize you guys don't need every single detail in the recap, and so we're focusing on the main points. And
On the main differences.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of, I should get my notes out, shouldn't I?
Probably.
That might be handy. All right.
Okay. So,
Allie told me I didn't need to do this, but I am feeling self-conscious, especially since I heard it when I said The Shining. My Invisalign are back in, guys. So you can hear my lisp.
yes, you can.
When I said Shining earlier, it came out with like a real high whistle. And I know me going back and editing that is going to hate that I don't say anything.
Oh,
So,
there you go.
I had a break for like a month because I don't even think I got to tell you this.
No.
Okay, my first set of trays were 1 to 28, and 24 to 28 were all basically the same tray. They just didn't want my teeth to shift, obviously.
Like a retainer type of thing. Okay.
Exactly. While they finish making the next set of trays that I have.
Uh-huh.
And so they were like, these set of trays, you only have to wear them at night. So be free all day, sleep with them in, take them out. And I got real used to it. So now having them back in, I'm like, ugh, what? But if all goes well, I only have 11 more weeks left of this.
Oh, exciting.
Mm-hmm. I'm very excited.
And then do you have a retainer?
Yes. I told them when I signed up for this, because my bottom tooth was crooked and I was really, after having braces, it drove me insane. I was like, how can I I had braces as like one of my teeth. Do you remember when I had to get a spring on my braces? It was that tooth that really was screwed up. And I was like, this is why. I told them, I was like, I don't know why my orthodontist didn't do this last time. I want the retainer that's glued on the back of my teeth. And they were like, oh, don't worry. That's what everyone gets when they're done with this. And I was like, I know it's a pain in the ass to floss with, but I want that so bad because I know that tooth.
It's actually funny you say that because like I legit feel Apple in mine right now. They're annoying as can be, but I mean, yeah, my bottom teeth are fine, and then it's my top tooth that's like it went backwards.
Yep.
So that's what I wanted. I've been thinking about getting Invisalign for, but just have not yet.
Yeah. So. Honestly, it's super easy, and I also didn't realize, like, to you it might be just that tooth going back, but your bite might be coming back too with it. I didn't realize that with mine.
It definitely is. I definitely know that I have. Sorry, I'm like playing with my teeth, so it sounds they're probably like, why is this? Yeah, I can feel my overbite coming back, so I know that would be. Would be multiple.
I went in there and I was like, this is gonna be a month tops, and then they did my whole tooth, like, because they do this cool weird thing where they scan your whole teeth and basically make a 3D model right there on the computer for you.
Oh, that's cool.
And they show you with that model, it goes from like present day to where they want your teeth to go. And when I watched everything they were shifting, I was like, ooh, everything.
Wow.
back.
Yep.
But they did tell me it was going to be 52 weeks of this. And if these 11 are my last ones, it's only been 39.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just talk about how good we are doing, and then I took us on a random long tangent. Sorry.
That's all right. Our tangents have... I went back and listened to old ones, and I'm like, it's been 15 minutes. Why are we not talking about the book yet? Oh my gosh. So, hey.
I do think our minisodes have helped us with this.
Oh my gosh. So much so. That's all right. We need a little tangent every once in a while. Look,
exactly.
You know what I realized? Our paint our pictures have turned from us explaining where we are to just our quick little paint our pictures of our life.
Yeah.
So that was our paint our picture today.
Yes.
Your update with your
Invisalign.
There you go.
There you go, guys. There you go.
So today we will be doing Dr. Sleep, Season 3, Episode 12.
Yes.
Yeah. And like we said, our last
Coming at
episode of the season.
Yeah. How exciting.
It is exciting.
I love it.
Before we get started, we will trigger warn you, just like last time. There's domestic violence, but it's mainly focused on child abuse. And then there's drugs and alcoholism. And
Yeah.
I know. This made my mama heart sad. This book did.
Which part?
She goes and freaking kills the kid.
Oh, you mean Rose?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, hold on.
You know, the main thing that would make me sad.
For some reason, I thought you were talking about the kid with the mom doing cocaine.
Oh, I mean, that was sad too.
Yeah. I mean, it was sad, but I was also like, but you're not with him for long enough.
No, no, I was sad about the other one. There's lots of sad children in this book.
They're all sad.
All right, let's give you a synopsis. So, struggling with alcoholism, Dan Torrance remains traumatized by the sinister events that occurred at the Overlook Hotel when he was a child. His hope for a peaceful existence soon becomes shattered when he meets Abra, a teen. Well, I guess when he officially meets her.
Okay. She's not even a teen.
No, this must be from the movie.
Yep. A kid
who shares his gift of the shine. Together, they form an unlikely alliance to battle the True Knot, a cult whose members try to feed off the shine of innocence to become immortal.
Bum, bum, bum.
Author is Stephen King. Director, Mike Flanagan. Screenplay writer, Mike Flanagan. And audiobook reader, Will Patton.
Nice.
Yeah. And like I told you, outside the pod, the audiobook reader did really well. I didn't even realize till halfway through, but each section, like, it's kind of like Stephen King's books where he follows different characters. And so whenever it switched to a different character, just the normal narration part, not the voices of the characters, but the narration part, he changed it to match the character. It was very subtle, but once I noticed it, I was like, oh, it's kind of cool.
I like this.
Yes. So he did good.
Nice. What's funny is for some reason I thought you told that story in The Shining. So then I was like, oh, she's telling it again.
No, the Shining guy did. All right.
That was
This is a different reader.
Yeah. Different reader. And that was a story to me and John.
Yes, it was. Yesterday, I think. Day before?
3 nights ago. Sunday night? Today? Oh, no. 2 nights ago.
Cool.
Not that it matters. Place, guys. Yeah. Let's really paint our pictures for you.
Exactly. All right. So the book came out September 24th, 2013. Hey, that's one of my old besties' birthdays.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm so random with birthdays. I don't know why birthdays stick in my head. I have not spoken to this friend. She was my elementary school friend. And why do I know her? I don't know. Tori, if you listen, hi. All right. Movie came out November 8th, 2019.
Nice.
Oh, Tyler was a week old. No wonder I didn't see this movie in theaters.
Oh.
I was like, this is a movie Cameron and I would want to see in theaters.
Yeah.
Why didn't I? We had a week-old baby. That's why.
Yep.
That's a 6-year difference.
Yeah.
And because I found it interesting, it is a 36-year difference from The Shining. So the books. I didn't calculate the movies.
Did you, in the audiobook, did they have the Q&A with Stephen King?
They had, I mean, I don't know if it was
At
a
the end of it?
Q&A, but it was an author's note.
Oh, no, there was a Q&A that like asked certain questions, and one of them was like, wow, this was a long break in between. And he said that basically the number one question that he got was, where is Dan Torrance now? Like, where is he in life? What is he doing? And he never, like, he had always had Dan living in his head too, but he never thought about writing it. He never was like, that's the next book I'm going to do. And then I can't remember what he said was the thing that made him do it. It was really interesting.
It was, because that wasn't it. He just reworded it so that it was him telling the story, not as a Q&A. But yes, because the section you took a picture of and sent me,
Yeah.
it was exactly the same. What did he say? It was like, I think he just was fixated and was really curious. He was like, what would have happened if Dan went to AA? Or not Dan, Jack. Jack went to AA.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, also in that, found out that he was an alcoholic when he wrote The Shining.
Stephen King?
Yes.
Oh, how interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so I think he was a bad alcoholic, he said, in The Shining. So then I think that was also him wanting to turn the new leaf for that too, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I thought it was cool.
Yeah. And then I loved how he, did he do this in the book? How he gave a bunch of people credit.
Oh, yeah.
And like, he's like, listed a bunch of people that knew The Shining better than he did. And he's like, thank you, because I totally forgot all about this.
Everything.
And this. Thanks for correcting me on my own book. It was pretty cute.
Mm-hmm.
Which first?
I read the book first because I knew that the movie was coming out. Well, first off, here's my story with it. The Shining is my favorite Stephen King book. Although, after this reading of Dr. Sleep, I actually think Dr. Sleep is my favorite Stephen King book.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very tied at the moment. But as I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, I just love all of this. But because it was such a big gap, I didn't think he could bring back what I loved about The Shining. Was it The Shine? And so I was worried about that. And so I didn't want to read it. I owned the book for a long time because I was like, well, it's the sequel to The Shining. Maybe you'll want to read it someday. But I kind of kept it away. I was like, nah. And then I found out that Ewan McGregor was cast as Dan Torrance. And I was like, I'm going to end up seeing this.
100%.
So then I was like, well, you can't break your rule of going and watching a movie without reading the book first. So that's what I did.
You made me watch it first.
Yeah, because I had read it first.
Yep. So let's see our theory. All right. What are your initial thoughts on the story?
I love it. So I am heartbroken that Dan becomes an alcoholic. I remember the first time I read it and I got to that part. I really wanted to stop reading. I was like, no, he would not turn into his dad. I was so mad. But other than that, it's a great book.
I think it's pretty accurate that he could turn into his dad.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I
didn't want him.
I didn't want him to. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I really, really liked it. I definitely loved the movie. I was really excited to read the book. The book is great. It was I just really liked it. Like with The Shining, it was good.
Yeah.
Like it was fine. Like it wasn't. I at the end of The Shining when I was like, oh great, we gotta do this again. Read the next one. I wasn't
excited.
I wasn't super excited. Like I was like, okay, I was excited because Ian McGregor is in it.
Yeah.
But then it was good.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this is a good one. It's one of my picks for you guys to go watch and read.
Oh, absolutely. 1,000%. I agree.
Yep. Why'd we pick it?
Because it's the sequel to The Shining, and Allie made me schedule The Shining.
I know. I made you do this one too. You almost didn't. Remember?
I did, because they were both big books, and I know that Allie has sometimes a hard time with 2 very long books back to back.
I do. I get very anxiety. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, you get super anxious.
All right, let's do Allie's super fun facts. Yay. Yay. So we have Mike Flanagan. Painstakingly recreated the sets of the Overlook Hotel from blueprints he acquired from Stanley Kubrick's estates. So he went and got those blueprints.
Awesome. I love that. Honestly, those sets are beautiful as heck. And all I could think when watching it was Ewan McGregor definitely grew up on The Shining, right? And as an actor, it could have been like one of his favorites, or one of those movies for him that like made him go, wow, I want to be an actor. And then he got to be walking around the halls.
I have actually, you're jumping ahead.
Oh,
a fun
sorry.
fact. No, that's okay. You're wrong.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
So, number 2. Dr. John Dalton's room, which Danny is interviewed for his orderly position, is identical to Ullman's office where Jack Torrance was interviewed for the caretaker job in The Shining, right down to the paint color and the little American flag on the desk.
That makes sense. When I watched it, I was like, this seems familiar.
Yes.
And then I was like,
it was so fun. I highly suggest, because I only picked 5, you guys, but you should go look at IMDb. They put all the Easter eggs in there, and there are so many. So it was really fun.
no.
Okay, here we go. Ian McGregor admitted that he doesn't like horror, so he never watched The Shining.
That's funny.
Until he started acting, and then he felt like, I can't ignore it. It's classic. I have to watch it.
Funny. Well, I was talking him up for this.
I mean, it's fair to think that, though, because it's like, you think, like, what a classic movie. And now he must be so excited that he's in it. I'm sure he was excited, but...
Oh, yeah. Especially because he's been acting for how many years before this?
Right.
So he probably was now at this point like, oh, this is exciting.
Right. Definitely.
I would have thought from a childhood.
I know. All right. Dan Stevens, Chris Evans, Matt Smith, and Jeremy Renners were considered and met with the director for the lead role. But McGregor got cast with Stephen King's blessing. I put that in there specifically for that Matt Smith.
Thanks.
For you.
I didn't know that. I would have been so happy. I love Ewan so much, but that would have been amazing. Recast now. Oh, man.
Yeah. Sorry.
Stupid Stephen King. But also not stupid. Now I'm torn. Like, I don't even know who I would really want.
Well, you have the whole podcast to think about it.
Well, I didn't for real recast him.
I know you didn't, but now you might.
I might.
All right. And Danny Lloyd, who played original Danny, hadn't acted since the original Shining, but he was very excited to appear in the film for a cameo. And he played a spectator. I'm assuming at the baseball game. That's all.
That's weird.
It said, it didn't even give it in there. I had to go look it up, and on IMDb it said he played a spectator. So I was, and he was uncredited as a spectator. So I was like, when would that have been? So
that's so weird.
Yeah, so that's just my guess. I don't know. And I don't know what he looks like now, so I can't go back and find him.
Yeah. And I doubt there's a freaking picture of him online.
I mean, there might be. I mean, I guess there could. We could type in.
Yep, he's at the baseball game. Yeah.
Okay.
He's the one that...
Oh, did he have a line?
Oh.
Was he a true knot?
No.
Oh.
Like he can read the pitcher's mind was his line.
Oh, he was the one who was talking up this boy.
Yeah.
Man, so it's all his fault.
Yeah. And it's the kid from The Room.
Oh, I thought I recognized him.
Yeah, he's also in Wonder.
Oh, the main kid?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it yet, so.
I haven't either. I wanted to see it because he was in it.
Oh, okay.
But then I never saw it.
Yeah. All right. Ready?
Do it.
Okay. So, book kicks off, and there's like this news article basically refreshing us all about The Shining and how it ended. But it makes it seem like Jack is a good guy. Like, he died a hero and all this sort of stuff because, you know, they only know so much.
Mm-hmm.
But then we skip forward a little bit, and Danny is now 8 years old, and he keeps having these visions of the dead lady from 217 in their bathroom. And he tells Wendy, don't go in the bathroom. And he's terrified because he sees the ghosty people are in there, and Wendy checks. She doesn't really notice much at first, and then she hears or smells this horrible smell, and she got a really bad feeling. Danny stopped talking, so she called Halloran, and Halloran came and he talked to Danny, and he let Danny know that, hey, I showed up for you when you needed me most, and guess what? One day you're gonna have to do that for someone too. And I'm sure Danny's like, okay, whatever. And
I know, as a little kid, he's like, screw you.
Exactly. And Halloran told Danny about a story about how his grandpa was horrible. Like, he was like molested him and hurt him as a kid. And he came back as a ghosty person.
When he died?
Yeah, when he died. Sorry. He died. He came back as a ghosty person. And Halloran brought Danny this box. And he's like, I need you to know this box inside and out. So Danny learns it. And he's like, now you're just going to lock all the ghosty people in there. And Danny's like, okay. He's like, you can lock more than just one, as many as you need. So later, the ghosty lady came back and Danny locked her up.
So in the movie, obviously Dick is dead from the last movie.
Oh, that was another fact I didn't put in there. It was like he had to figure out, he tried really hard to find the
fine line
because he knew how much Stephen King hated how
The Shining.
It was, his book was portrayed. Mm-hmm. But he also know when you think of The Shining, you think more of the movie than the book. So he wanted to make sure Stephen King was okay with this. And so he tried to like fix it. And he said Stephen King was very happy with the end result. So that's good.
That's all I know about this movie. Is that this is one that Stephen King is like, yep.
It works.
I'm good with this one. Even though they really had to screw a lot up.
Yes, they did. Because the first one screwed it up so much. Yeah. So they had to. They had to.
Yeah, and there's only one way to fix it. But my first note is that I love that they use the music from The Shining even. Like, obviously it's probably a different composer. And they probably tweaked it a little bit. Especially for music throughout the movie, but at the parts that were The Shining, it's the exact same score. Like the very first opening scene when it's the exact same one in The Shining. Right. They use the same song. I legit
thought it was at first I thought it was they just pulled a clip. Oh. Because I was like, the set is the same, the music's the same, and then I see the kid same. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not the same.
I know. I watched this with John and he at first was like, wait a minute, everything's the same. And then he was like, that for sure is not the same kid.
No.
Like, well, no, it can't be. But then the movie shows this girl named Violet first. And at first you're like, who the hell is Violet? But then you realize that it's to introduce us to the true Knot, which the book doesn't do until later. So then basically what Allie says happens, except for when he wakes up to go to the bathroom and the lady's in the bathroom, he doesn't totally like freak out. He just kind of is like, he obviously freaks out, but in the bathroom, he's like, okay, can shut this door. No one's going in there. And then he goes and pees in the sink and then goes into his bedroom and is mute until Dick comes by. In the movie, he sits there and stares at the bathroom and freaks out and pees his pants right there until his mom comes freaking out. And then she comes and says that he's been mute since they left the hotel. Not just because of this. I'm like, okay, that's not the right way. I put that they cast a really good Dick. Like me and John both were like, whoa, he looks almost exactly like Dick in the movie. I had to look it up to make sure. I was like, maybe they did like CGI, and we were like, no, that dude's gotta be dead by now. Like, it can't be him.
Was he dead?
I didn't look that up. I just looked up who played it. Now Allie's gonna find that out.
I don't want to spread rumors that might not be true.
Well, anyways, in the movie, Dick's story with his grandpa is not as dark as it is in the book. And then you find out Wendy comes running out and is calling for Danny. And she's like, where have you been, Doc? And the camera comes back to Danny where he was sitting with Dick. And Dick is gone. So that's when you realize he's a ghosty.
Yes, he did die in 1986.
Oh, wow.
He was born in 1910.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was 70.
He was 70 when he was Dick.
Yeah. Yeah, he died 6 years after it came out. That's crazy.
Wow. Well, they cast a really good Dick.
Now we jump. And we're with this girl named Andy. And we find out that, she was molested by her dad. And so she hates men. And she brought this guy on a date to the movies. But there's these people watching her. And Andy ends up whispering to this guy. And she's like, aren't you tired? And he falls asleep and passes out. And she steals his money. And she keeps whispering to him, like hypnotizing. I was going to say hypnotizing. Whispering to him hypnotizingly.
Hypnotizingly. Sorry.
And because she's just evil.
She's mad at men.
Yes. And so she gives him 2 snake bite marks with a knife. Is that how she did it? Yeah.
On his cheek.
And then as she leaves, the people who are watching her kidnap her. We find out that Rose is one of them, and she's the leader of the bunch. And she's like, here, you're going to join our family so you can be 28 forever. And so they tie her up, and they do this cult formation ritual thing.
There you go.
And she begins the transformation, and she's screaming. It hurts so bad. And all these True Knot members inhale all of her steam that comes out as she's dying. And Andy wakes up and she feels so refreshed. She's like, oh my gosh, am I alive? And Rose is like, do you care?
Or no, she asks if she's human.
And Rose and Andy have sex. It's the best sex she's ever had. And Rose is like, that's a one-time thing because my man is coming home.
That essentially happens except for the sex.
I think so. It's pretty accurate, that part.
I will say the one thing about the movie that's tough is there's no way for it to portray the timeline of things. In the book, it's pretty easy to know, okay, so this is happening before certain things are happening in the main storyline. Whereas in the movie, it just kind of seems like it's coinciding with things.
Yeah.
I kept
They could have done a 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Yeah, but they didn't.
I had to keep telling John. He would be like, wait, how is this happening now with this? And I'd be like, because this is past and this is not present day.
Yeah.
Or he was like, how did she go from doing the spoon thing to...
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that's
not...
a huge jump is why.
Well, also, I think a difference is that in the book, Andy is 28. And I think she's only what do they say,
she's
16 or something?
Yeah, she's young.
Yes. So now, in the book, Dan is now an adult. So we fast forward 30 years. And he woke up, as we said, he is an alcoholic and a druggie. He woke up super hungover next to a woman named Deanie. And he realized he bought drugs because he is plumb out of money. $500 just gone like that. And the reason he did it was because this person had death flies all over his face. And because Dan's shine can show him when people are about to die. And this guy was about to die. And he's like, no, I feel bad for you. Give me here. I'll take your drugs. And he's about to steal some money from Deanie. And a little boy comes out, like, still in diapers. Like, she left this little boy there all night to go party.
And his diapers were super saggy.
Super
meaning
saggy.
They were full.
Way full. And the little boy sees the drugs on the table. He's like, oh, candy. And luckily, Dan moved them.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. He's a dick, but he's not that kind of a dick.
Yeah. And he notices there's bruises all over this little boy. And he finds a picture and realizes, oh, is this when he figures out it's the brother, or he has like a vision that it's the brother?
No, he pulls out when he's going through her wallet to get the money. He sees a picture and he's like, oh, there's a resemblance there. That's her brother.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the little boy's uncle is beating him up.
The boy's uncle is also his dad. Did you not pick that up?
No.
Yeah.
When did it say that?
When he's looking at the picture of them.
Just because they all resemble each other?
No. It's his shine. Piecing it all together. He's like, it's a crap situation, and he's upset because now there's this kid from that.
Oh, no, I did not get that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Poor little boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dan ends up ditching and taking all the money, or not all the money, some of the money.
All of her money. He leaves her the food stamps.
Oh, yeah. And he has a vision of the kid and the girl, and it's haunting him for like ever and ever and ever.
Mm-hmm. So basically, they don't do a very good job with this scene. They kind of make Deanie seem like she's dead already.
Yes, I thought she was.
Oh yeah, John did too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Why is he leaving the kid
with a dead person?" That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of sucks. But other than that, they pretty much did that. Well, they also don't show. I do love how they intersperse in the movie the like scenes of him piecing it together, and it's just quick flashes of like the bar fight and the drugs and everything.
Yeah.
But they also don't ever explain the death flies. They show flies every once in a while, but they never explain the death flies.
No, they don't. I assumed it was like when, I don't remember, was it when people were moving still? I only saw them one time, and was it only that one time on Deanie and the little boy?
I was going to say it's on Deanie and the little boy and when he has the vision.
And they already look dead. So that's just what I thought it was. Flies on dead people.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah, so they didn't do that well.
No.
All right. So Dan continues to be haunted of this kid and Deanie. And so he went to this new town. Like, I'm going to start a new life. I need to stop drinking. And he met Billy, who had the shine as well, but Billy didn't realize he did. It was a minor shine. It wasn't like Danny's. Billy suggested, hey, I got a temp job in this teeny town, which is like just the town recreated. It's just like a little touristy thing. And he said who to go talk to. And Dan went to talk to Casey, who hired him, about getting the job. But Dan had to lie and say he's not a drinker because Casey doesn't like drinkers, or he's no drinking's allowed. And he got the job. Casey's like, hey, you have some medical background. Maybe you should work at the hospice. And Dan's like, oh, maybe one day, but I'm not ready for that right now. He's like, okay. And then Billy helped him get a place to live, and the shine was getting stronger again because he stopped drinking, that's why it all started, because he did not like the shine.
And it muted his shine.
Yep. And then he has a vision of a top hat on the table.
Interesting. So in the movie, Billy is basically two characters put together. He is Billy and the boss, Casey. And so things get kind of convoluted here.
Wait, Billy was the boss too? I thought John was the boss and John together.
No, because John's in one scene.
Dr. John is the guy
who interviews him for the hospice thing.
Yeah.
But Billy and Casey's character are mushed together. They're the people who like
yeah, I know Billy, yeah, and Dr. John, yeah, they're mushed together when it comes to that part.
Oh no. Well, I mean that, yeah. But what I'm saying is because like Casey is his go-to person and the person he's always hanging out with. That's Billy in the movie.
Yeah.
And so right here, he's Billy and Casey. And John just interviews him for a hospice job right off the bat. No teeny town thing.
He worked at Teeny Town for a little bit.
He does, but you don't see that until later on in the movie.
Right.
He just gets his hospice job right off the bat.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And my other thing is when Billy finds him the place, and also Billy lives in the same house with him. Or like it's apartment buildings and he lives in the same apartment with him. Mm-hmm. Dan's place already has a blackboard, but in the book he gets a blackboard for himself, which I think is kind of silly. Why change that?
Because it's more fun to have the blackboard on the wall, I guess. Oh, no.
Right? Well, actually, you know why? It's for the thing that is the Easter egg later on.
Oh, that's exactly why.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in the book.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Oh, and then I said, because Billy Freeman also is supposed to be a 70-year-old man.
Yeah, and he's like...
He's young because they had to mush him with Casey and Dr. John.
That's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then later, we're about to get to why I mushed Casey with Dr. John.
Yeah.
Because of the watch, which we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big storm going on, and Dan was having his nightmares about Deanie and the Haiti
the Haiti.
Gosh. He was having nightmares about Deanie, and she kept saying, "Don't mess with the lady in the hat. She's the big boss," and all this sort of stuff. And the nightmares continued, and the little boy is dead. And Dan knew all this was true. Like, he knew, no, there's no way that this kid is alive still. And this had been a few years now. The kid was old enough to go to like preschool or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's been a few years. And Dan went to the store, buy some alcohol. He's trying to be sober, right? Because he's supposed to for the job. But he's not in like AA or anything. He's like, I can go do it. It's fine. But at the same time, he's like, I don't want to. And so Shine got a hold of him, and he was like, okay, fine, I won't. And then Dan woke up because he went to sleep. He woke up, and there's a bloody baseball shirt in the sink from his Shine. And so he closed his eyes, open, it's gone. He again then went to go buy some alcohol, but Billy came and he's like, you need some help. And he took him to Casey, and Casey helped him because he trusted Billy's intuition.
Mm-hmm. So in the movie, his nightmare with Deanie is her coming to tell him, because the movie also is very fast paced. So there's not 30 years in between Dan leaving Deanie and then getting to Teeny Town. It's pretty much like the next week.
Yeah.
And Deanie is just coming to tell him that no one's found her body and the kid's body because they're both dead now. And so that whole thing doesn't happen with her premonition to Dan. Also, Dan basically doesn't get to rock bottom where he keeps buying alcohol and then needing help from someone else. He just decides to go to AA himself. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's funny is when he interviews for the job with hospice with Dr. John asks if he's done this kind of work before, and Dan goes no, when that's all he's ever done in the book.
Right.
Because his Shine helps with that.
Right.
So stupid. Perfect.
Okay. So now, little baby Abra is born.
Mm-hmm.
And Abra also was born with the caul over her face. Mm-hmm. And her Momo, which is her mom's grandma, said, "Oh, old wives' tale. She has second sight." And of course, the parents are like, "Ha ha ha, so silly."
You should trust it.
Yep. And so Dan begins AA meetings because Casey is his sponsor, and he's like, "Yeah, you gotta do this." And Casey was an awesome sponsor.
Oh, for sure, absolutely, the best.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when he's there, like Casey made him take notes like every meeting, and because he had to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And he started writing Abra. He couldn't get this name out of his head. And she's 2 months old at this point.
Mm-hmm. That's a strong Shine.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So now Abra is 5 months old. And birth mom, both mom Lucy and Dad David had very similar dreams where Abba is just screaming in pain. Lucy's dream, she saw number 11 on her, and in David's dream, the number 175, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And both parents wake up and their daughter is screaming in pain. They take Momo was like, take her to the hospital. You're fine. And the pediatrician comes, Dr. John. And it turns out it was 9/11. And as soon as the second plane hit, aka plane number 175, she stopped crying. So she was having a vision of all these people dying.
Mm-hmm.
It was so sad.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I don't know why. I don't know. Like, World War II has always been fascinating to me too.
Yeah.
But whenever in books or movies or anything 9/11 gets brought in, I am so hooked and fascinated. And I don't know if it's because it's such a historical event that happened in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Or what it is. But it's just so interesting. It's horrible. Like, I'm not like knocking that. But it's just so interesting. So when this happened, I was like, and then it also put into perspective, this is all of his other books we've read have been written in like the 80s.
Yeah.
So I was like,
this is
what?
present.
And it's so funny because like he talks about Harry Potter and Twilight, and it's just so fun reading all these pop cultures in his books. So it was a fun one. And so this was my first clue of, oh my gosh,
This is the year it's in.
I'm alive when this is written.
That doesn't happen in the movie.
Nope, not at all. So Rose and her group would go to a local park right near the crash site, and they would just stand there and suck up all the steam that's there because of all the people that died with the shine. And then it's all gone, so they'll move on to the next place.
I wish they showed this,
I do too.
because this was another thing that I had to explain to John. I was like, okay, this is normally how they do it, because he was like, well, what else are they doing for food?
Right. Yeah.
Hold on.
Because they would like follow natural disasters and go to those areas and
suck up
all
what they
the
could.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're at this.
That didn't happen in the movie.
No,
if I didn't make that clear.
We're at the AA meeting, and Dr. John is there, and he is very distraught because he misplaced his watch, and his wife is going to be so upset with him. And Dan couldn't watch him be upset, so he was like, "Hey, your watch is in the bathroom on the counter or the cabinet." And he's like, "What?" And then sure enough, there it was. And so that's why I linked Casey and Dr. John, because Dr. John is the one who got him the job, and with this whole thing,
he got the job.
And so, so Dr. John played like 3 roles in the movie.
Yeah.
So no,
you mean Billy?
No, yeah, Billy.
Billy played 3 roles in the movie. Technically, fucking 4. We'll get there.
Yes, just know that there is no Casey in the movie.
There is no Casey. He's kind of mush with Dr. John and Billy.
The
only reason I put him with Billy is because Billy's there the whole time. And Casey was
Dr.
there.
John.
Dr. John is there the whole time too. So yeah.
Wait, what?
In the book.
In the book, yeah.
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 Yeah. In the movie, guys, Dan does do this with Dr. John, but that's what Dr. John, like, that's what makes him then called Dan in and is like, do you want a job as a hospice? Also, what? I wish that's how you got jobs. I would go help people find things all the time.
That you've never met.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, have you tried looking here? And they go and they come back and it wasn't there.
How about here?
Oh, yeah. Okay, now give me a job, please.
Are you impressed that I sent you on a wild goose chase?
Oh, gosh. So now it's a few years later, and David and Momo went to Dr. John's. And they're like, hey, you need to come to Abra's birthday party because she's going to get really excited because we have a magician. And weird things happen when she's excited. And he's like, okay, like what? And they share about how she has a gift, and they included the 9/11 incident. She plays piano from her crib, but the keys don't move. It's just like the music is in the air. She has visions of when people get home, before they get home. She found money hidden in the wall that nobody knew was there. She saw a neighbor fall down and get hurt, but in the other house where she could not have seen it. And so he's like, yeah, this seems kind of odd, but okay, I'll come watch.
That doesn't happen. Well, it's weird because it doesn't happen in the movie, but it does. Like, the birthday party happens.
Yeah.
But Dr. John going to it does not happen.
No. So now we're with Dan. And he sees Tony.
Ooh.
I'm Tony. Is that how it does it in the movie?
Yeah. Tony.
Dan's
Red rum.
Dan's not here anymore. Well, this time, one, I don't think Tony's in the movie at all.
No, not at all. Not in the slightest.
So Dan doesn't talk with his finger.
Could you imagine Ewan McGregor? Tony's here.
But anyway, so he saw Tony.
That's why Mike didn't do it. He was like, there's no way to get rid of this.
No, because Tony never was a
third
finger.
person. Yeah. It was like, always a finger in the movie.
Yeah. It was in the book. He's supposed to be like a ghosty person.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sort of.
I don't know.
It's Dan, just an older version of him, but now it's like teenage Dan. So it's a younger version of him.
That's what it is? That's what Tony is?
Yeah, because his name's Daniel Anthony Torrance. Did you miss that part in The Shining?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole chapter that explains it.
Oh.
Danny realizes who Tony is. He's like, oh my gosh, it's me, just when I'm older.
Oh.
And so
now it's him younger.
It's just a figment of him. Yeah.
Well, okay. I guess that's fine. I was really excited because I had thought, like we'll get to, I'll say it when we get there.
Okay.
So Dan saw Tony in an apartment complex that was above the hospice, which is now where he works. And so he's like, oh, okay, fine, I'll move in there. And so he moves in there, and he woke up on the same day as Abra's birthday, and on his blackboard, it was all erased because his blackboard has all the hospice patients on it. And it said, hello. And he instantly knew, oh, are you Abra? And now Abra, this is her like third birthday or something, second or third birthday.
It's her fourth birthday.
Okay. Second, third, or fourth birthday. And so, yeah. So that's our timeline where we're moving along.
So Dan doesn't see Tony in the apartment, but he does get a hello on his blackboard from Abra, but it's when she's a teenager in the movie.
Yeah.
And I was upset because I really like, in the book, the hello is the circle or the O. Circle. The O, she draws a smiley in it. It's just upside down. And that's how he knows it's Abra, because every time she does an O, it's an upside down smiley. So then the movie does it right side up.
As an audiobook reader, I did not know that.
You didn't know that, yeah.
No, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So it's a nice little nod to the book, but I'm like,
did it
wrong. Can you? Yeah.
What? Why would, like, how easy is that?
That's all I'm saying.
Oh my gosh.
I know. As a book reader, it kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm like, that's an easy one to do, guys. It's an upside down smiley face and 2 dots.
Like, what the heck? Oh gosh. All right, well, book continues, and Abra had a good birthday. There was a magician there. He had a big hat on, and it was just nice and fun. But she kept being like, I can do that with all the tricks he was doing. After the party, Abra did one of the tricks, and he did something with spoons. Well, her trick was she put all the spoons on the ceiling, and Dr. John, at this point, was getting annoyed because Abra didn't do anything. So he's like, why did I even come? Like, obviously, these people are crazy. And then he sees us. He's like, oh,
here we are.
Not crazy. And he goes home, and I think is it his nephew does some research for him about all people who... Yeah,
it was his nephew.
Yeah, people who shine. They don't call it that yet, but that's basically, they're looking up all these information of people. And he's like, you know what? It might go away. And if it doesn't, that's okay. The important thing is you love her and you help her and you tell her when it's good to use this and not, and blah, blah, blah.
So you just see the birthday party with the magician and then the parents in the kitchen.
Freaking out about the spoons.
Yeah. That's it.
Because did it have, were they thought she had something special from the beginning, or this was their first sign?
This was their first sign.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, at least as far as we know, because that's the first time we see Abra.
Right. So Dan keeps having nightmares. He's back at the Overlook, and he's like, well, this isn't good. I guess keeps isn't the right word. He had a nightmare. He was back at the Overlook. And there's a cat that works at the hospital.
I love the cat.
And anytime it goes into a guest room, they're about to die.
No.
So, which is like, now the cats have shine too.
Yeah, hell yeah, they do.
And so
that's why they couldn't kill Bump in Secret Window in the movie. That's why they changed it to a dog.
Well, then what happened to Churchill in
his shine? He just knew he wanted to be a zombie.
He's like, oh, I see it. There's a truck coming. It's perfect time.
The Pet Cemetery prequel is everything I wanted the original Pet Cemetery to be.
Prequel?
Yeah. It's on Paramount, I think. Or one of those.
Oh.
Oh, I said Paramount, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My brain thought I said Peacock.
It's about... Who's it about?
It's about Judd.
Really?
Yes. It's his story. You know, the one that he tells about the military kid?
Did you watch it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's good?
Mm-hmm. I liked it a lot.
Oh, good. But it's not based on a book. It's just...
No, it's just the story.
Like, we're going to tell it.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to the current Stephen King book.
Sorry.
No, it was all of us. Okay. So... Dan goes into the room and he helped this man pass by doing like his little shine thing. And he notices there's bruises on him too. And he goes to leave and he sees a figure standing there. And he's like, are you Abra? And it disappears. And then Dan approaches this orderly who's like manhandled the patient, which gave him bruises. And Dan freaking almost started punching him and fighting him. But he's like, if this ever happens again, you're dead. So he still has his anger that he needs to
keep in check.
Yeah.
So, in the movie, there's no bad orderly. Also, in the book, there's a nurse who calls him Dr. Sleep. And I felt like it was kind of a loving nickname coming from her. I don't know. I just didn't like how the movie did it because the patient he goes in to help pass calls him Dr. Sleep.
Right. It's supposed to be a thing with the patients.
Yeah. Yeah. And then... this one's one of my bigger beefs because this also was something I had to explain to John because John was like, well, then why isn't the True Knot going and killing people and just eating that? Or like killing all the old people going to their hospital beds. But in the movie, when the old person died, his soul came out of him and it was white. And it's supposed to be red because he's old and dying. Whereas the steam that the True Knot sucks up is white.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now we're with the True Knot and we learn about them and how they're just like look like average normal people, nice people in RVs. You know, if you pull up to them, they're like, oh, hi, you know, let me show you pictures of my kids. And like all of this I loved in Stephen King's note at the end of the story. He's like, so be careful when you pull up to next to
a Winnebago or what was the other one? Earth Cruiser?
Yeah, something like that. You never know who might be inside. I was like, oh.
I was already creeped out by them before this one.
Oh, no, now I'm even more. So anyways, we find out that they're slowly dying because they're running out of steam. They can store steam in canisters, but they haven't been finding
big enough steam to fill it.
People with the shine. And so there's only 3 left. And they found this little boy and he plays baseball, and it's almost like he knows what pitch is going to happen before it happens, which is where we come to Danny Lloyd's cameo. And because of this line of his, they're like, oh,
there's our guy.
He's got the shine. And so sure enough, they coax him, take him, and if they torture him, more steam comes out. So they tortured this little boy, and the little actor, was phenomenal. And I just sat there and like wanted to sob because I felt so sad for him.
Mm-hmm. He's a great actor.
He did really good. And he's like,
he's a good actor.
Are you going to hurt me? And she's like, yes. I was like, no. And sure enough, they did. And then they killed him and sucked up all his steam.
Yep. So that happens, but there's some differences here. First off, Crow Daddy is Rose's man, and he is not a tracker. He's at least not supposed to be, not in the book anyways. In the movie, he 1,000% is, because he's the one who comes up to her and is like, Rose, I found someone for us. We gotta head that way. But it's also because they kind of, the main people you see from the True Knot are Rose and Crow Daddy. So
right.
They couldn't give us all the other characters. The other thing is that also right before this scene, we see Danny at AA, where he's giving this huge long speech about how he's so thankful to hit his 5-month mark, because that's when it went downhill for his dad when he was in AA. And he talks about his dad being in AA.
Yeah, which is the whole point. He wasn't.
And I was like, Danny, you wrong.
I'm surprised Stephen King okayed that one, seeing as the reason he wrote the book was to see what it would be like if Jack went to AA. Interesting.
Yeah, I know. It didn't make sense to me. The other thing that's kind of off here is they never talk about how many canisters are left. Like, Crow asks, do we have enough steam? And Rose is a little bit like, we do, but not really. But it's never like a dire thing for her in the movie like it is in the book. Another thing that I made note of here is there's a lot of inner monologue that happens in the book, obviously, that does end up being a line in the movie. But the weird thing is they have other people saying the lines. Like, one of the things that Rose thinks about in the book is how she's looking for her Moby Dick. She needs to get her Moby Dick because she needs to get them a lot of shine, because she knows they've got limited steam left and everyone's not doing too hot, and she's got to get them steam. Crow is the one who's like, because in the movie, when Crow's like, I found someone, Rose is like, I don't really want to go to that one. Like, I'm sure we could find, like, if it's not huge, we shouldn't go. And he's like, you got to stop looking for your whale. Just because you want a lot of steam doesn't mean we shouldn't go eat this steam too. And I get why they said that, but also I was like, but she in the book never made it obvious that that's what she was doing. She was always like, we're just looking for the next steam.
Got it. Yeah. All right. So in the book, Abra wakes up screaming with a nightmare, and she's older now. How old would she be?
I think this one, she's like 10. I think this is just a little bit before she ends up meeting.
Oh, this is. So that's how she's 10 is how old she is for all of it. Okay. Yeah. So we're at present time now, which also, I guess never mind. It would have been. Says Dan in the movie, he got his 5-month chip. And so he's only 5 months sober when all of this happens.
Yes.
And he's supposed to be 8 years sober, right? Okay, so he's 8 years sober in the book. And so Abra wakes up screaming. She has a nightmare. Well, it's not really a nightmare. It's the friggin' vision of them torturing the baseball boy. And
I think she did great in this scene too in the movie.
Yes.
Where she wakes up and is freaking out.
Yes.
Like, no, they're killing him.
Yeah, she did good. Back to the True Knot, Rose noticed a looker. She doesn't know who it is, but she knew that they had steam, and she tells Crow Daddy about them, and she's like, we have to go. Or he said, we have to go now, because if they've popped in, because she said she could tell they were from the East Coast, and they were nowhere near the East Coast at this point. He's like, if they have that much steam, that much shine, that much steam, they just call it steam, right?
Steam, yeah.
To pop in all those miles away, we need to go now because it's kind of risky to leave it. And she's like, no, it's okay. We'll go in a couple months. Which I'm like, why? Why didn't she want to go now?
Because she wanted it to get stronger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But he was bringing up good points too. Like, what if her parents think she's crazy and give her drugs? Like,
and dull the shine.
Yeah.
And then I was actually glad this is the one line that they kept from the book and the movie too. And she says, pill like that couldn't even dull her steam. She said it would be like placing saran wrap over a flashlight.
Oh, yeah.
But that happens.
Okay. So in the book, Dan meets with Casey and they talk about his alcoholism. Yeah.
One thing that's different when Abra wakes up crying about the boy who got killed. Abra's dad is on a work trip in the book, but in the movie, he's there. So he knows.
Yeah.
That's when you kind of first start thinking, oh, his storyline is going to be different later on in the movie.
Okay. So Dan met with Casey and he's talking about his alcoholism. It's like their catch-up meeting, but also they're friends, so they hang out too. Casey says, hey, there's something eating at you and I can tell you got to forgive yourself. And sure enough, it's the Deanie incident, but he doesn't want to tell anybody about it. It's so funny. Like, I did not realize, like, I was trying to make my notes shorter, right?
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, I'm like, oh, I can make this part. Like, who really cares? Like, he had a drunken night, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I keep reading. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was like
she's there the whole
time until the last paragraph of the book. I was like, she seems like this is quite an important chunk I must add then. Oh my gosh. So, but it's because I came off the movie and it wasn't that big of a deal in the movie.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, it won't be a big deal.
Like,
It's just a drunken incident.
It's whatever.
Oh gosh.
Nope.
Anyways.
It's the thing that's eating him up the whole time.
Yep. So then Dan goes, hangs out with Billy, and he sees flies, the death flies on him. He's like, you need to go to the doctor right now. And he takes him to Dr. John because they're friends. And right? Did he take him to Dr. John?
Well, first he goes to Casey and is like, hey, Billy needs a day off.
Yeah.
And Casey's kind of like, okay, I trust you. Go. Take him. And then...
Was it a normal doctor or was it Dr. John?
I think they tried a regular doctor first and then they went to Dr. John.
Okay. All right. They just keep clicking all of them together.
Yeah. That's why they did it in the movie.
Yes. And so... turns out he had an artery plugged, and so Dan got him there in time. So the death flies don't necessarily mean you're going to die because you can get it fixed.
Just however many flies he sees on the face kind of gives him the timeline of how long. And so he knew, he was like, I only saw like 2 or 3 on his face. So I got it in time as long as he takes care of it quick.
Yep. And so Dan and Abra have been chatting on their blackboard, and finally he shares his name.
Oh, look. No, so she must have been 8.
Oh, yep. Okay. She shares his name, and she's so excited. She tells her parents, I know his name now. His name's Dan. But they didn't talk again for 2 more years. Because she was talking with Tony instead, right? Because she screams and asks for Tony's dad later.
No.
So she just wasn't talking to anybody.
She was talking to Tony all this time, and... she asked something about his dad or whatever. And so, or no, she asked how Tony was doing. And Tony was like, our friend Tony is doing just fine. Love, Dan. Or something like that. Right. And then she just stopped talking to them both.
Oh, both of them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because this is what I thought when I was reading it. Because I thought that she was talking to Tony. So what I had thought Tony was like to Dan is what Dan is like to Abra. So I thought Tony was just someone else with the shine that Dan was talking to. And I was like, how cool is that? And now Dan is... but now fine, Tony's the same person, whatever.
Sorry.
Ruined my cool thought.
Sorry. The Bill thing doesn't happen in the movie with him being sick. Dan and Abra do chat on the blackboard. And here's a big thing. So when Abra wakes up from her nightmare from the kid getting killed, she causes an earthquake, because later on in the book you'll find out she causes an earthquake. So that's still, they wanted to keep that in there, but it's at a different time. But this makes Dan wake up because it causes a huge earthquake for everyone. And when he wakes up, there on his blackboard has been cracked red rum.
Yep.
We're back to red rum. So Dan walks up and asks who, and she then writes baseball boy.
Mm-hmm.
When this is supposed to be happening way later. Not like right here.
But it was fun seeing the...
Mm-hmm. It was cool seeing the red rum. I was like, oh, nice Easter egg there.
I don't think they would have been able to do it if they... But they wouldn't have been
Mm-hmm.
the sequel to The Shining without a red rum.
Yeah, that's true. Especially with how crazy it went in the movie.
Yep.
Red rum.
All right, so we're with... So Momo has been a really important character in the book, but like...
She's non-existent in the movie.
Non-existent in the movie, and she wasn't like so important that I kept her in every detail for you guys. But just know that she's important enough that she's now diagnosed with cancer, and it's breaking down...
Abra and Abra's mom.
Family, yeah. And so they're just very distraught. Abra's mom is off taking care of her, and Abra goes in between Boston and New Hampshire, wherever they are. And so she's now at home with her dad, and she's on her way home, and she sees an ad, not really an ad, a missing child poster type of thing in the mail, and she sees the baseball boy, and she feels so sick. She throws up. She tries to, control her feelings, and she puts her fingers on the boy's name, and she gets all the information about him, right? Like his whole life story. And she had a vision about Barry, who's the guy who kidnapped the boy, and she was able to follow him to the supermarket. And there, when she's at the supermarket, she sees Rose, because Rose is super powerful, so she's like drawn to her. And Rose notices Abra, and she freaks out. That's when the earthquake happens. And this is when Abra calls for Tony's dad for help.
So this kind of happens in the movie, but Abra instead, after the nightmare she has, she then goes and tries to find the baseball boy on the missing children website. Because apparently there's a website that I didn't know about. And then once she prints out his page, she does like sit there and stare at him and gets the vision. And then she turns and walks up to a window, and she does what in the book she calls a world spin. When in the book, she didn't even know about it until Rose did it on her. She just is like, wow, I'm so powerful. I can do it all myself in the movie.
Which is when, that's how she goes to the supermarket, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Abra just goes and finds Dan. Instead of calling for his help, she goes and finds him working. And he, at first, is kind of like, this is weird. And he walks off. And then she says, hey, in her mind. Hey. Okay.
Okay. So now we're at Rose's point of view from Abra getting in her head at the supermarket. And so Rose talks to Crow about it. And she's like, oh my gosh, this girl has so much steam. We have to go get her. And so Rose is like, but what we need to do is just keep her alive, and we'll just keep feeding off of her. And Crow's like, well, if she's as strong as you say she is, that doesn't sound like a very smart idea. But Rose is like, I'm the boss. It's whatever I say goes.
So that kind of happens, except for she doesn't say that she wants to keep her alive and feed off of her. She's just like, we got to get her and kill her.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So Dan was woken up by Abra's shining scream. That's what I'll call it, shining scream. Okay. And he decides to IM her because she wrote her IM on his blackboard one time. Mm-hmm. And they said they're going to meet up, and they start chatting with pictures in their mind, which was super cool. Yeah. And I'm like, that would have been so cool to see in a movie.
It would have been, but also hard to show.
I mean, it would have been, but I feel like there would have been
there could have been a way.
Like to the misty.
Yeah.
Just missed a little bit, and then I don't know. You can figure it out. Come on, people are smart. And so his cover is Uncle Dan, and because it looks really weird having an adult man just hanging out with a girl.
Yep, it does.
And so Abra tells Dan about everything and how they killed the baseball boy, where they did it at, and how the woman in the hat got in her mind and saw through her eyes, and she saw out the window, which I mean, all there are mountains, so she can't really know where she is. And Abra said, I know how to find these people if you go get me that baseball glove. Because Barry was wearing it. Mm-hmm. And Dan told Abra, hey, okay, go home, but you got to set like an alarm in your mind in case she tries to get back. She's like, okay, will do.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in the movie. Well, okay, hold on. So Abra just randomly asks for the glove. She doesn't like, that doesn't get explained well. She just randomly is just like, I need that glove.
Yeah. Go to the spot where he died and get me that glove.
Mm-hmm.
No reason at all.
Exactly. And because her and Dan in this movie have not had a very good relationship yet, Dan's kind of like, I don't want to go get this dead kid's baseball glove for you. Like, what?
Which is unfortunate because in the book, you know, they hadn't really had a relationship too much either. But it said right the second he met her, he was like, had a great feeling about her. And he's like, I really like this kid.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't portrayed in the
movie. No. And then Dan doesn't tell her to set alarms in her mind. He just says, now that you've gone poking around in her head, she's going to be coming back for you.
So Dan was at home researching and he's like, okay, I really got to talk to Halloran, but, you know, he probably died. And sure enough, he did because, you know, that was 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And Dan got a call that someone was going to pass in the hospice house. So he went down and the old lady that died, she died like crazy fast, like mid-sentence. Mm-hmm. Dan saw this red mist come out of her mouth. That was what Brie was talking about.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen in the movie. Nope.
So Rose and her crew took shelter at the Overlook Lodge campground. That's like their base camp. And of course it is. Because why not? Mm-hmm. And so they're trying to figure out what mountains she saw.
That does not happen in the movie.
Nope. So, because the Overlook is still there, it is not a camping lodge.
No, it's still a hotel.
Yes. And so Dan spoke to Halloran in a dream. And he's like, hey, I need your help. Not really. I think Halloran showed up.
No, Halloran basically possessed the woman who died.
Oh, that's why she died so quick.
Yeah.
Because he was
covered. She kept seeing a bunch of dead people walking through her room.
Yeah.
And it was because Dick was trying to get there.
Okay. That makes sense now.
Yep.
I had that note and I was like, why did I write this? It makes no sense. I see why I wrote it.
Yep.
So he discovers that Abra is in big trouble. And he asks Abra, hey, can I bring Dr. John in on this? And she's like, yeah, sure, but don't tell my parents.
So in the movie, Dan's working overnight and the cat goes into a room that's empty. And Dan's like, what? And then he goes in and Dick's there. And it's literally him just there to convince her that he needs to help Abra.
Yeah.
That's it. And then he doesn't ask if he can pull anyone else in. Also, this is when you find out that Momo has cancer. And you find out because Abra's mom comes up to her and is like, is Momo going to pull through this time? And then you never find out anything about Momo after.
Oh, well. Clearly an important character. Mm-hmm. So, Rose is working real hard to track down Abra. And people in the True Knot just keep dying because of the lack of steam and they're sick for some reason. These people don't get sick. They don't get normal sickness. So what the heck is going on? And so...
Do you talk about the measles later on?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
And so Rose went into like this deep vision looking for Abra.
The deep vision happens.
Yes. And I'll talk about that in a second.
Yep.
Okay. Dan went to Dr. John. He explained the shine. And he's like, hey, you got to come with me to Iowa. I got like an AA thing I need your help with. And on the way, he's like, just kidding. Let me tell you what's really happening. And then we learned that Lucy had to move her grandmother to hospice. Or mother. Yeah, grandmother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dan goes to Billy and tells him that he's taking him and explains why, but he doesn't do it until after what Allie's about to talk about.
So what I say is Rose went into Abra's mind as she's sleeping because that's the easiest time to access it. And Abra's alarm went off as she's filing through, like, so there's a bunch of files all around of all her memories. And she's filing through and the alarm goes off and the file cabinet slams on her fingers. and she's like has to pull her fingers out, and it like
tears her skin.
Tears her skin. Like that was pretty accurate, right? Or am I just thinking of the movie because it was so traumatizing?
It was very accurate.
Okay. Yeah. So finally, she's able to get out of her head, but she's beat up, and so when Crow finds her, he lets her know, "Hey, Grandpa Flick is dying." And Grandpa Flick had the measles, and they think they got it from that baseball boy, so he was contaminated, which is interesting because if this is happening like 2 years ago, the measles are like not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a very interesting disease for Stephen King to choose.
I know. Yeah. Well, John was also, because I was explaining this to him, and John was like, "It doesn't make sense because measles are also not an airborne thing. So if like they're getting it from the steam or the soul of the person, that's not something that they can really contract through that."
It's not an airborne thing? Mm-mm. Oh, I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, come on, Stephen King, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like there's millions of diseases he could have chose.
Well, like the thing too, he explained it and like it makes sense why. It was something to do with like his parents didn't get him vaccinated. And so because he wasn't vaccinated, it like brought it on. I don't know. But yeah, it was weird. But the measles don't exist in the movie. And then Abra's trapped. She calls to Dan with her shine and is like, "She came just like you said, and I trapped her." And that's when he's like, "Oh shit, she's going too hard with this lady."
So Rose says this girl's steam can cure us. It's so powerful, it can cure us of these measles. We got to get her. And so she's like, "But I can't go get her because she knows me. So go figure it out." And then they had like this funeral for Grandpa Flick because he phased out and died. And so Abra let Dan know everything that happened, got him caught up, and Dan tells John about the Overlook and about, "Hey, my old man tried to kill me there." And they got to the town where Abra was, or where Abra told him to go, and they got a spade. They start digging up the baseball boy, and sure enough, there it is. And they wanted to start digging it up, but first Dan was like, "Okay, this is a huge lot. Where is it?" And so Abra did like this switch thing. So she's like in Dan's mind now, and she's like him, and like walking to the right location. And they dug up the glove, and then John and Dan agreed they need to tell Abra's parents, and so she told her dad, but her mom wasn't home. And he's shocked. He's like, "But you can't do this anymore. You haven't done it for years." She's like, "Yeah, because you didn't want me to."
So in the movie, after Grandpa Flick dies, the True Knot eat him. They eat his steam.
Oh, yeah, that's
and I was
right.
like,
I forgot about that.
All right, guys. And then, yeah, that's why. The switcheroo with Abra and Dan doesn't happen. Abra's just there in the backseat of the car when she's talking to him.
I know. As I was reading this, because it gets more and more like either she gets better at it or it's just explained more better.
Yeah,
more better. I just think it would look too weird, and that's why they didn't do it. Because it would have to be Ian McGregor acting like a 10-year-old girl.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that because like in the scene when Abra's acting like Dan,
right? And yeah,
but that's not weird. But yeah,
it's not as weird. But could you see him being like, "Oh my gosh,
oh over there"?
It would totally take away from the
that's true.
Suspenseful movie, and it'd be like, "Oh, that's kind of weird." So that's, I'm sure, why they did not do that.
Probably. But yeah, and then he tells, the other thing. Dan tells Abra that she needs to show her parents, not tell her parents.
Oh, yep. In the book, right?
In the movie.
Oh, in the movie.
Mm-hmm. In the book, he says to tell.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the True Knot found 3 girls around where the earthquake happened, but they don't know which one is which. Like, which one is the main girl. And so now Barry has the measles, and he's dying. Oh, so sad.
That does not happen in the movie.
So they go to Abra's house, Dan and Dr. John. And her dad is pissed, as he should be, because some strange man is talking to his 10-year-old daughter. But they explain everything, and because Dr. John is there, and he's known Dr. John since she was little, that's what kind of calmed her dad down. It was like, okay, maybe this is real. And then Dan was very convincing of explaining evidence and everything. And so Abra was able to touch the baseball glove, and she had this intense vision of where the True Knot is. And she's like, they're on their way. They'll be here tomorrow. And so she saw their camp, and Dan realized the campground was definitely where the Overlook used to be.
Mm-hmm. In the movie, when they get to her dad is pissed. But Dan then is like, show him, Abra, show him. And so then Abra just goes into his mind and shows him everything.
Because that wouldn't freak him out more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, his daughter possessing his mind for a second.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. And then the rest of it doesn't really happen. Like, it kind of, like, Dan and Billy go to get the True Knot and trick him. But they definitely do it very different from the book.
So the plan is to leave Abra at his friend's house. And David, Dan, and John go and stop the True Knot. But they're going to trick him because Abra's going to be present at home, safe, with Billy in the car watching.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also going to be like mentally with Dan so that their tracker can follow the car and be like, oh, she's coming. Gosh, that'd be so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so Abra's just very excited. She's like, they deserve it. Which I also wasn't going to put, but turns out that's important as well.
It is. That doesn't happen in the movie.
And so the True Knot's getting anxious because they want to make sure Abra doesn't know that they're coming. And Barry's dying with the measles, so his mind isn't working very well. But he's like, no, we'll be fine. Don't worry. And so Abra is paying attention to both her present life and mind life.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden she sees porn and she's like, what the heck? And she like is jolted. And it was a trick by the True Knot because in case she was trying to trick them, which Barry's like, she's not with the road. I don't know. I felt her at home. I don't know where she is. It could be a trick. It could be because I'm sick. I don't know. And so
Crow decides to go and
but
pick up on that lead.
He does. But Barry dies. And other people are now getting infected. And Abra knew he died, and she let her friends know that, hey, I'm going to go home. I don't feel very good. And they're like, okay, be okay. But she wanted to be alone because she saw that they were approaching the camp, like a picnic area, like not the Overlook camp. And she wanted to be like able to cheer and be excited when Dan kills everyone. But that doesn't happen quite as well as she hoped because she's leaving and Billy's like, what the heck? What's going on? I don't feel good about what's about to happen. And he has a good intuition, doesn't he?
He does.
That shine.
He does. In the movie, Abra stays home with her parents when she's doing this. And Dan and Billy drive their car up to Cloud Gap or whatever it's called.
Yeah, because Dad doesn't go with her.
Nope.
Dad doesn't go with them.
Nope, Dad stays behind.
So Dan, David, and John get to the picnic area and they see people coming out of trailers. And they're like, I don't know, they look pretty normal. And then Dan sees the snakebite tattoo and guns. And he's like, oh, no, they're not good. And Andy's like, aren't you tired? And Dan almost is asleep until he hears Abra scream, I can't see the crow. Where's the crow? And Dan wakes up and they all shoot everybody and all the True Knots die that came.
The movie legit did not do well with this because when Dan falls asleep, at first he doesn't. It's obvious. He's like, I'm awake. And then he's like, and then he falls asleep. Like so much so John was like, he's so strong enough. He should be able to fight her off. Like,
right. I was actually shocked when
he went to sleep.
Even in the book. Yeah. I was like, shouldn't he not be able to?
I just think it's because he's older and he's been an alcoholic.
Okay.
So
fair.
That's what I chalked it up to. But also, who knows? So everyone, all the bad guys die. But Andy, before she dies, she gets Billy to also kill himself.
I was so sad.
Yeah.
I was like, why isn't she dying faster?
I know.
But then I was quite shocked when it didn't happen in the book.
Yeah.
I was like, wait.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Because she was even there talking.
Uh-huh.
So I was waiting for it because like everybody else just died. But Andy kept talking. And I was like, here it comes, here it comes. And then she dies. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. The movie's got quite a bit of stuff coming up.
Yes, it's starting to change.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out the crow is coming closer to Abra. And so Danny sees that Abra and Rose can see through each other's eyes at this point. And Abra is also in Dan's head. So it's like, it's a mix.
Everyone's in everyone's head.
And Rose is furious because she saw everybody die. And Dan tells Abra, call the police, you're in trouble. But then he can't see Billy, Rose, or Abra anymore, which freak her dad out naturally because he's supposed to be keeping her safe.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the movie, the crow stole Abra with her dad there, and her dad gets killed.
I was sad about that too.
Yep, me too.
So we're at the crow's point of view from all the way back, rewind to where Barry is still alive and telling him, hey, this girl might be back at home. And so that's when now Crow went and he got a disguise and everything, and he's trying to figure out which one's Abra, and he saw her leave a house, and he noticed Billy being like, what the heck's happening? And he's like, oh, that's the girl. And so he sticks Billy with a syringe and knocks him out, and his plan is to drive the car into the driveway until he gets the pain of all the other three True Not dying. And he's like, oh, that's not gonna work anymore. I gotta be a little more conspicuous.
Doesn't happen in the movie.
Nope. We should also say that at the ambush, Dan and Billy kill everyone, don't they? In the movie?
Yeah.
In the book, there's only 3 people they kill. Because there are only 3 people went to, besides, okay, I guess 5 went. Crow left, and Barry died of the measles.
Oh, yeah, because like 6 people show up in the forest, huh?
Yeah, and then they all die.
I thought it was just 4 of them.
And then Rose is all alone. Whereas in the book, there's like a whole tribe of True Not still with her.
Well, what's funny is the tribe is still with her in the movie when they're in the RV, but then they just show up. Wait, no.
At the end, when she's freaking out because everybody died.
I think in the movie their group was literally only the 4 people that are in that RV.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Now
she's
alone.
Instead of a huge group of the True Not.
Because they said there was like 42 of them or something like that.
Yeah.
And so so now everybody's, well, not everybody's dead. Crow's still there. Yeah. But she's all alone at camp because she couldn't go with them. But in the movie, but in the book, she's still there with the other like 30 or whatever people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
That was just a thing I noticed. So, I'm talking too much. Abra had the vision of what's going on, and she's freaking out because she can't see the crow, right? Mm-hmm. And then she sees Rose dive into her vision, and Rose is pissed because she sees everybody dying. And before Rose can get kicked out of her vision, Rose has relief because she sees Crow there with a needle, and he syringes her and knocks her out. So then it goes on. He took Abra to the car and everything. He calls Rose and he's like, hey, I got this guy and this girl, and you got to send people because I'm going to look pretty suspicious if I get pulled over. And she's like, if you get pulled over, kill the girl, suck up her steam, and we'll get you out of the rest. And so he hears Billy's phone ringing and he notices there's a gun in the glove box. He's like, oh, perfect. I'm going to take that. And Abra starts to wake up. She's super groggy. And he's like, well, hello there. And he says, you can't do anything because if you do, I'm going to kill this guy. And he has a syringe to Billy's throat. And, oh no, to his leg, right? It's just down low.
Yeah.
And
he just knows because he already dosed him. He's like, this could kill him even more.
Yeah. He's already almost dead right now.
Yeah.
Crow makes her get gas, and she's like, I'm just so thirsty. thirsty. He's like, be good and you can get a drink. And she gets a drink and then she's like, I have to go to the bathroom. She goes to the bathroom and then while she's in there, she tries calling Dan. But she's so groggy from this drug that
it's hard.
It's very, very hard.
Doesn't really happen in the movie because Billy's not there. Crow does drug Abra, and so Abra's all groggy. But then Dan finds her because he realizes that Abra was able to find people, so I can find people. I just have to close my eyes and listen because my head is like a radio. And so he closes his eyes and listens. And then he hears her go, Dan. And then he opens his eyes and he's with her. And then he possesses her. And then he makes her take the steering wheel and like drive off the road basically. And the crow flies out of the window and that's how he dies.
That's not how he dies in the book. So, Dan's point of view, Dan's freaking out because he lost communication with Abra. And he keeps hearing reminder, you forgetting something. And he's like, that's what they told me. That's what I kept hearing at the Overlook with the boiler. He's like, so it's important. What am I forgetting? And he's trying to figure it out. And then it clicks. And he's like, we need to go to Boston right now. And so they're on their way out. And Dan is trying to get inside Abra's mind. And eventually, he's able to do the switcheroo because he hears her calling from the bathroom. And he's seeing through her eyes. And he's able to unlock her shine power. And he's like squeezing Crow's eyeballs somehow with his mind. Mm-hmm. Or Abra's mind. I don't really understand. And the car crashed. But Billy is still in. Or not Billy. Crow is still in the car. Billy wakes up. He's like, what the heck is going on? And Crow's trying to shoot them, but Abra / Danny is like, nope, and made him shoot himself.
Yeah, that didn't happen in the movie.
Nope. Not even because they weren't forgetting anything in The Shining. That's right.
No, in The Shining.
Yeah, because you're forgetting something from The Shining.
Yeah.
No, because
they weren't forgetting anything. Yeah, so they didn't need that bit in there.
Nope.
Which is probably why it really screwed this part up.
Probably.
Why? Because this just leads to the big reveal later. And it's like, why? Why did they not include this in the movie? Because that would have also helped tie. Because one of John's questions to me was, why are they so linked? Why is Danny and this kid linked? Like, what makes them special? It's like something big.
Yes. So Rose is furious and depressed because now Crow, her man, died, right? Mm-hmm. The True Knot are worried. She's getting a little crazy. So some of them decide to leave. She's pissed that some are leaving, but she's like, whatever. And the ones that stayed, they took a bunch of steam so that they could find this girl. And Abra came into her mind. She's like, no need to find me because I'll come to you. And Rose, when she took steam, it was like a snake jaw opening in like a black hole. Like, it was not like the movie.
No.
It was freaking scary.
No. In the movie, it just looked like Rose was getting high on some shit.
I know. It was definitely opposite of, I think, Kubrick's idea. And it was like, he's like, I'm going to try and keep it like kind of a suspenseful movie where instead of a terrifying movie.
Yeah.
Because that would have been
horrifying.
Terrifying if they showed it.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. So in the movie, Rose is the only one there, so she takes all of her steam. And Abra, now that she threw Crow out of the car, is just walking around all by herself until she finds Dan.
Which doesn't happen because Dan is still Abra. He's still in her body. I don't really know how to describe this.
In the movie? Oh, you mean in the book?
In the book.
I was like, wait, that happened in the movie.
And so this little 10-year-old is driving. He's I've done this many times before. And he's like, Dan, is that you? Billy says. And so Billy's trying to like wake up from the drugs because Dan's like, I'm leaving. She can't drive. You need to drive. And so they get to the next town and get a hotel, and Dan or Billy calls Dan, and Abra's able to talk to her dad, which is good.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in the movie.
Nope. They drove, and Dan slept as much as he could until they got to Boston, and they found Lucy, and they let her know what happened. And Lucy's freaking out, right? And she's pissed at Dan, she hasn't seen Dan yet. So she's Dr. John and David are dealing with Lucy because Dan went to Momo's room and spoke to her about Abra, and he helped her pass on. And Lucy comes in pissed, and then he's like, shh, you're in the presence of death. Or whatever weird thing he said. Mm-hmm. And she realized Momo died. And Dan tells Lucy they're half siblings because Jack had an affair and her dad is Jack as well. That sucks. Mm-hmm. And then it just gives a bunch of details of how that's true. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
That does not happen in the movie.
Nope. So then they're about to go off to the Overlook camp area. But before they leave, Dan looks in the mirror. Or he looks at stuff. And then he washes his face, looks at Momo's things, like he went to her room. And then he washes his face and he looks up and
there's some death flies.
Death flies all over him.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't happen in the movie.
Nope.
Were you there? Some? You really skipped, yeah.
Hang on, you guys. There's stuff before that.
I was like, oh, I guess she's just...
So a little bit before that, Dan told Abra to call the Overlook campsite, ask for Rose. Abra and Rose spoke for a little bit, and Abra kept calling her a coward because she wouldn't meet Abra alone, and it pissed Rose off. And in the end, she's like, I will meet you alone. And Rose had their best next locator find Abra, and he got to that. And then the death flies happened.
Yep. And that still doesn't happen in the movie.
Okay. So they got to Abra. Her mom's ecstatic. She's like, my baby, and hugs her. And then they come up with a plan where everybody goes back home except Dan and Billy. They went off to the Overlook campsite, and Abra would do the switcheroo thing with Dan to trick the True Knot. Abra called Rose and was in communication with her and let her know that they'll be there tomorrow with her
with her Uncle Billy.
Uncle Billy. And Dan and Billy were driving, and they got to town, and they went, and Dan bought something very interesting at a children's store. But when you drop the C word, then isn't that what he said? He dropped the C word, so he was able to get it. So does that mean he had cancer? Or did they talk about maybe that is talking about cash when you drop the C word?
Yeah, cash.
Cash. Okay, that's weird that he said the C word.
Well, he says stuff about cash, and then he says when you drop the C word.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
Cancer?
Cancer? Yes. When the heck? No. Why? That's the most random thing. Okay. Glad I cleared that up because that was really confused me. So
that doesn't happen in the movie.
Nope. So Rose and the guy who's following Abra discover where she is, and he's so excited, and she's like, keep going, keep following them. And Billy and Dan get to Dan's old house and stay the night there. Is that true in the book?
No. They don't stay the night there. They just go there.
They just go there.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, wait, so they just like get in, is someone else living there? So no. They stay near there though, because they don't go up.
Yeah, they go to a hotel. But he wanted to drive down the road.
Okay. That makes more sense. Because I was like, they just be like,
they just walk in. Hey, I'm going to stay here. I know. I used to live here.
I was so confused.
Trust.
Okay. The end of the book, you guys started really confusing me. So.
Because it's very different from the movie.
It is. So bear with me. So Abra told her parents, hey, as soon as I put my bunny on my lap, you leave me alone. I'm going to like fall out of my chair. I'm going to pass out. Don't touch me. And of course, her mom's like, oh no.
I'm going to touch you. I know. That doesn't happen in the movie. Okay. I do think it's hilarious because we talk about how quick all of ours have been. And then this one's 2 hours long.
This was such a long book, though.
It was a long book and very messed up.
Yeah. So Rose and Sari, who is one of the True Knot people, hide in the shed. And she's like, you're going to hide here because your power is like disappearing. Like she can be so still. She looks like she's not there. And I'll call for you if there's danger and you come stab him. And she's like, got it, boss. And Sari was also Andy's lover, so she's very distraught about this whole thing too. Mm-hmm. And so Billy set up this mannequin, which is what Dan bought from the store, in his car, and it's pretend Abra. And Dan walked to the Overlook and he saw Rose and told Abra it was time. And Lucy's freaks out because her daughter just passes out. And Abra and Dan do the whole switcheroo, and Dan went to his lockbox and starts unlocking things, and Abra's freaking out because like all these monsters are coming out, right? Mm-hmm. So Rose noticed Billy get out of the car because Dan is off to the side. He's not with Billy anymore.
Actually, certain things in his lockboxes were dust because they had died in his lockbox. This is another thing that the movie does wrong.
Oh, okay.
So in the movie, when he does this with his lockboxes, all the monsters do come out.
Yeah.
And they're ready to fight. But no.
Some of them did not.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the book.
So Rose notices Billy, and Abra's just sitting in this car, but she's like super still. So she's like, something's wrong there. And then Dan, I already said that. Dan calmed Abra down, and they went into the lodge. And Rose came running to the lodge because she realized it's a trick. She saw it was a mannequin in the car. Mm-hmm. And Dan came inside and saw the true knot. And he opens a box, and out came Momo's steam. And Momo was there, and her steam ended up killing everybody. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
That's true. It's because she was dead. And so the red steam.
So they just can't have red steam.
Yeah. I'm assuming.
Okay.
It was, or whatever Momo was dying from.
Okay. I was like, what
just made
is
them all
happening right now?
get killed even quicker. Because it was kind of her steam mixing with the measles steam too.
Okay.
And it's just her steam made the measles.
Okay, she's dying of cancer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Is that what the red steam is then? Is it from sick dying people, or is it just old dying people?
I think it's just old dying people. I just think it's what it looks like when you get older and die.
Okay.
Yeah. In the movie, guys, the Overlook is still obviously there. And so Dan and Abra go up to the Overlook. And Dan basically keeps trying to tell Abra to run away and to not come with him. And she's like, no, I'm not going to leave you. Rose gets there. And Dan and Rose essentially like reenact Jack and Wendy's fight on the stairs with the baseball bat. And then Dan gets all of his ghosties to come out and eat Rose and give Rose a taste of her own medicine. And then Danny turns into Jack. And then he's running through the hotel trying to beat people. And then he even tries to beat Abra. But then he stops himself because he realizes what he's doing. He's like, you must go. You need to leave. And then, guys, we get the Shining's ending here. Because then Danny runs down and goes to the boiler to make sure that the boiler explodes. Even though the thing that's in him that's turning him into Jack wants him to turn it off so that the hotel will stay alive. But he stops himself. And then it explodes.
There was also a scene where he went and had a drink with his dad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that part. Uh-huh. Yes, you're right. Mm-hmm.
And I wish it was really Jack Nicholson CGI'd because it did not look like Jack Nicholson, and I was so confused.
I know. It didn't. What's funny is John knew right away.
Like, I thought, I was like...
at the side angle, but...
I was like, is it supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't know. Like, yeah. I knew that's what... I knew...
They were going for.
Yeah, but I couldn't tell if I was being tricked or not.
Yeah. No, you were not.
Okay.
But yeah, and basically the movie's done now, guys.
Yes. So Rose got to Danny and poured all her anger in him, and so she could find Abra. And Dan woke up to Deanie's apartment, and she's like, "I killed Abra," and he starts freaking out at her. And he starts strangling her, but Rose is playing mind games, and Dan is now actually choking Abra out. So this is where the going after Abra thing came in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But he notices. Oh, because Billy hit the lookout thing. The lookout?
Oh, yeah. He crashed into the... No.
What's a
basically lookout. Kind of
so
like...
they're up in a lookout area.
Yeah.
So he crashed into it, which jolted Rose, and kind of Dan was able to notice, oh, it's a trick, and I'm killing Abra. So he freaked out and stopped. He's like, you need to leave. And she's like, no. Because she's a 10-year-old girl.
Yep.
And Rose then tried to start killing Billy, but Abra stopped her. And they knocked Rose's hat off, which pissed her off. It was very, like, dramatic moment for knocking a hat off.
In the movie, that happened, too.
Yes.
Where she's like, don't touch my hat.
Yes. And Dan realized Rose was trying to distract them, and he saw the shed door open, but there's nothing there, so no big deal. And Abra's like, I gotta go back to my body and take a breather real fast. So she left, and Rose is like, now is the time. I must kill Danny. And so she gave the code word to Sari, and Sari goes to come out and kill him. But she turns, and she sees a dead body. And that body kills Sari instead. So one of Dan's monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And Rose made Danny start strangling himself. And Abra came back, and she's like, no. And all the monsters start pushing Rose over the ledge, and she dies. Is it the monsters or is it Abra?
No, it's Abra.
Oh, it is Abra?
Yeah, Abra is who pushes her over the edge.
Okay. Well, Abra's kind of a ghosty person.
Kind of.
And so, I guess I keep going because
I'm
you're
done.
done.
Mm-hmm.
So Abra's like, you need to burn the hat because it reminds me of the hat of the magician. So now I'm like, what the heck was the magician? Was he a true not person too? Probably not. But
no, I doubt it. I just think it's a reminder. Like,
probably. Abra went back to her parents, and they're so relieved. And Billy came up, and they talked about how they had got to call the cops and all this sort of stuff. And all the ghosty people are there, but not all of them are bad. And Danny saw his dad, and he blew him a kiss. And I was like, "Aw."
I know. I thought that was sweet.
That was super sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're at kind of like an epilogue type of thing. And Dan, or he's now known as Doc, which is very cute because he was Doc when he was little.
And he's Doc Sleep now.
Yeah. He got his 15-year chip. And he finally is able to share the story of Deanie, and everybody accepted it, and no one thought it was a horrible. Well, I mean, I'm sure they thought it was bad, but then no one was like,
we shun you.
Yeah. They're like, we've done worse. And so then it's Danny's at Abra's birthday party, and she's not doing so well. She's drinking at friends' parties, and she's like 11 years old. And so he shares all the stories about his grandpa beating his dad, and his dad beating him and his mom, and all this sort of stuff. And it kind of like chilled Abra out. And he went back to hospice because he got a phone call, and it was the orderly that he almost fought at the beginning. And he helped him pass away.
Yeah.
The end.
Woo. We did it.
We did it. 2 hours later.
Yeah.
As we were.
Woo. We're going to be so quick.
Not really.
We're ending the season long.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So IMDb cast 64 people.
That's actually kind of surprising.
I know.
But whatever. Didn't feel like it.
No. So we got Ian McGregor as Dan.
Shoot, I forgot I was supposed to be thinking about this.
As Matt Smith, yes. Well, I think he did perfect, and I absolutely loved him, and I love him in anything he does. So
he's one of my many crushes.
He's very cute.
Matt Smith is another one of my many crushes. I feel like Matt's too fun.
Dan had to be serious. Yes, this was a very serious role.
Although Matt does really good with serious roles too. Yeah, I think I'll stick with Ewan. I love Ewan. He's so good. He's in one of my favorite movies. So there you go. Moulin Rouge. Watch it if you haven't.
I have not. I know.
Oh, we gotta watch it. It's Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman.
Oh, okay.
One of my all-time favorite movies.
All right, I'll watch it.
Love it.
Okay. Deal. So we have Rebecca Ferguson. Oh my gosh, as Rose the Hat.
I love her.
I love her.
She does this role so well that any other movie that she's in, I hate her.
Really?
Yeah, because I just remember as
The Showman.
No, I hated her in that one.
She was not a good person in The Showman either.
Yeah,
The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, but no.
Now, one of the fun facts about her was she was like, I'm not a big horror person, but Stephen King books are one of her all-time favorite books. And she says, I think every single one should be adapted because they are so easily adaptable.
Yeah. With ya, girl.
Yep.
With ya.
So we have Kylie Curran played Abra.
She was so cute.
She was really good.
Yeah. I like her a lot.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Cliff Curtis played Billy. I mean, he wasn't Billy from the book, but I liked him a lot.
What's funny is I was going to recast him until it clicked that he was a mesh of people. And I was like, oh, that's why you're fine.
Yes, I liked him.
He was good.
Mm-hmm. Zan McClarnon?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Played Crow Daddy.
He looks like a middle-aged Johnny Depp.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love this guy.
He did really good.
Yeah, he did.
I liked him.
Yep.
Okay. Emily Allen Lind plays Snakebite Andy.
I recast her.
I didn't recast her, but I didn't like her. Like she was fine for the. I just don't.
What's funny is when I was reading it, who I cast is who I was picturing in my head. So then when I watched the movie, I was like, what the fuck? Because I've seen the movie, so I knew who they were.
Oh, yeah.
I thought I did. So then I was like, what? I didn't know this? I cast Catherine Newton, a.k.a. what's her butt from Supernatural that you hate?
Claire from Supernatural?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it, though.
Yeah. I was like, oh, she would be good.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, so we got Carl Lumbly as Dick Halloran.
He did so good.
He did really, really good.
Like I said, I really thought it was the same dude, almost.
We got Alex Esso?
Mm-hmm.
She played Wendy Torrance.
I loved her so much. She, like, I almost think if we were to recast her for you, this is who we should recast. Because in the scenes where they actually, like, reenact The Shining and she does it, she looks so much like Wendy. It kind of tripped me out.
Wait, recast her? What are you talking about?
So you recast Shelley Duvall, right?
Yeah, no, I was going to say that. I was going to say if timeline matched up, which it does not, obviously.
Sadly.
But this is kind of, she's perfect.
She even like, she brought Shelley's character to fruition. She was so good. I was like,
yeah, she did really good. Jacob Tremblay played the little baseball boy.
He was so good.
So good.
I love him. He's such a good actor. Is the theme of the book and the movie the same?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. To an extent, yes. Do the characters stay true in the movie to how they were written in the book?
Well, like combined a bunch into one, so no there.
No. I think Rose kind of not sometimes.
Sometimes.
I feel like this is a meh.
Yeah, I feel like if we get nitpicky, no, but overall, other than Billy, John, and Casey character, then
exactly.
Fine.
Which do you prefer?
I think I prefer the movie. Now let me explain. I don't know if I would prefer the movie if I hadn't read The Shining.
Oh.
I really liked that the movie did the Shining book justice.
Yeah.
With making it explode and everything.
Yeah.
And then I really liked that the hero wasn't a winner.
Oh.
Did you say that he died?
Oh, shit. Well, I said that it blew up.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Say that. Danny dies in the movie, guys. Which also, do you want to tell your funny story with that?
What is my funny story with that?
So the other night, me, Allie, and John are having game night, right? And me and John just finished watching The Shining the night before. And I've already filled John in on all the differences and stuff. John, not realizing that Allie is done with the book.
I had an hour left.
Goes, so Dan doesn't die in the book?
And I was like, what?
And
I was like, he just saw flies on his face. What are you talking about?
I just stared at John because I was like, all I could think was, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to get this to where she thinks that there's a chance he's going to die?
No, it was ruined. Yeah, so there we go. Okay. So that's another reason I liked the movie, because he died and then Billy died.
Yeah.
And so, and I also loved it from, so not only Stephen King writing point of view, fixing all the mess ups in The Shining, but also tying The Shining in the movie in so well.
That's true.
So like the running through the maze they did, you know, the bat on the staircase and everything. So I really liked some of the details and more story in the book, but I just liked all the clicking and connecting.
That's true. I could see that. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed this movie a lot, actually, but I prefer the book. I love the book. Like I said, I think it takes #1 spot for my favorite, but also it's hard because I love The Shining so much. So, all right, guys, if you liked this one, guys, We would love it if you rated, reviewed, subscribed.
But only rate and review if you liked it.
Yeah, if you didn't like it, please don't. We don't need to hear that.
Oh, gosh. But subscribe no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you can hear more stuff that you don't like. But hopefully you like it.
Yes. Come on. How could you not? All right, you guys. And Monday, we have our season 4 recap.
Not to be confused with Wednesday's episode, which is season 3 recap.
So we will be talking about this Dr. Sleep in
the season 3.
Yes.
All of our Monday episodes on Monday.
Yes. Really, this is the only
time we thought it might get confusing because we're doing the season 3 recap after. But it makes sense because if we're releasing all of season 4 on Mondays, why aren't we releasing the recap on Monday?
Yeah. And don't worry, if you come listen, we're going to tell you every single book we're going to cover in that recap. So it shouldn't be too confusing.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully not.
We'll see.
Good luck to you guys.
Oh, gosh. All right, you guys. And so with all of that, Dr. Sleep
went off script.
Bye. Thanks for sticking with us.
We hope you enjoyed it.
If you did, we would greatly appreciate it if you gave us 5 beautiful stars, reviewed, and subscribed.
You can also follow us on Facebook at Offscript, on Instagram at Offscript Podcast 21, and on TikTok at Offscript_pod.
Shoutouts to Madame Shen Creations for our adorable logo art.
And Adam Daniel for our incredible theme song.
And to Creative Cinephile Productions for producing our podcast.
See you next time.